I really want to get him to confess. He was like, no, I didn't do it. So I said, I'm going to change my tone. And I said, oh my goodness, who drew this picture on the wall? And he's like, me, Mommy, I drew it. And that's when you learn the power of tone. Your child knows, am I in trouble or am I going to be rewarded?
In all of the good times and even the trials, through tears and through laughter, yeah, I know that I'll smile when I think of you. Smile for the things you do. Smile, God gave me you. You are a reason I smile. Yeah.
This is Behind Our Smiles.
Pursuing connection.
And finding joy.
Even in the struggle.
So I have a question for you, Tara.
Uh-oh.
So was this episode already in the works? Or did you plan this after our interaction this morning?
This has been in the works for a long time.
Okay. Shoo.
This episode is for me.
Yeah, well,
for us.
Apparently my tone wasn't quite right this morning. And isn't it funny how just a little bit of tone can change a conversation?
That's why it's been on my list to talk about for a long time, because it keeps coming up again and again. But it's hard because we still struggle with it.
Well, I'm just relieved that it had nothing to do with this morning.
It might come up later.
What?
I might have changed the script.
We're so glad that you've joined us this week for the Behind Our Smiles Marriage Podcast. We are Joe and Tara Buchanan.
Yes, and so today we're really going to watch our
tone.
It's so difficult. But first, we love hearing from you about what makes you smile about your husband or wife. And every message is so much fun to hear, and we love hearing them. Today, we're hearing from Daniel about Caitlin. So let me tell you about Caitlin here. Caitlin is always overly polite, but it makes me smile when someone insults someone she loves. Mm-hmm. Her inner attitude comes out full of sarcasm and drama. She goes from preschool teacher to catfight. Mm-hmm. So that really made me think about this tone, because if you think about preschool teachers have a very distinctive tone. And I was a preschool teacher at one point in my life. We all can imagine exactly what it is. Oh, thank you for joining the class, boys and girls.
Now you've just insulted a lot of preschool teachers, maybe.
I do that, sick as children. Okay. And then suddenly the cat fights, and the whole tone shifts. And so I'm glad to know that Daniel appreciates the fact that she can switch moods so fast. Sometimes it is fun to see somebody switch attitudes and tones.
It's funny how tones can derail a conversation so quickly. We were having a very pleasant, wonderful conversation this morning. We do coffee every morning together, and something about my response and tone changed the whole conversation.
Now, what we'll never figure out is whose tone was off first, because I think it was your tone was off first, but you're like, the way your tone was first.
I wonder if we just have selective memories, right? Well, I remember it being your tone.
But the way we talk and the tone is so important. And Joe, even doing this podcast, if we listen back to ourselves talking, it still always grates on you a little bit. Oh, I sound so awful. And I'm like, oh, I sounded so angry there, or I sounded this. And it's such a challenge. But I think about how much a tone can change. And I remember when our youngest son was 3, and he was drawing and doing a nice job learning to draw little stick figures. And he had drawn on the walls with a marker on our dining room. And it was a lovely little stick figure.
Lovely artwork.
Something, I don't know what it was. And I'm like, I pretty much knew who it was. I knew it was the 3-year-old. And at first, there's the shock and the come on now. And so when I kind of saw him in the room, I was like, okay, now who drew that picture on the wall? Who colored on the walls? And he already can sense my tone. And he's like, not me, kind of running away. And I'm like, I really want to get him to confess. But he did it. He was like, no, I didn't do it. So I said, I'm going to change my tone. And I said, oh my goodness, who drew this picture on the wall? Oh my goodness, that's such a beautiful picture. Who drew it? And he's like, me, Mommy, I drew it. And that's when you learn the power of tone. Your child knows, am I in trouble or am I going to be rewarded for what I did?
So wait a minute, have you done that with me?
Exactly. If you kind of pull out the preschool teacher, you get a lot of better response. So it's amazing how much we figure out what we mean to each other by tone.
Yeah.
Not even just our kids, even our dog totally understands our tones.
Anytime you're overhearing a conversation, you can tell pretty quickly what's going on in that conversation. And I've noticed with our dog, when we have conflict in our marriage, or we raise the heart rate of our conversation and tone, the dog responds. It's funny. The dog will go cuddle up next to you if it feels like, or if it'll just kind of get up and slowly leave the room. Well,
there's a lot of debate too about how much language dogs understand. There could be a lot of debate, and they, the dogs do understand certain words, but more than that, I think they know tones. Yeah. So like sometimes maybe someone's coming over, or like so-and-so is coming over, and you think they know the word, but also it's like, guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Someone. And I just have to like get my voice all hyped up. And the dog's like, okay, I have a feeling someone's going to come over.
In fact, if you raise the last note of the tone, like, guess who's coming over?
And then you see something the dog did wrong. Yeah. And Joe, you have to do this one. You have to pull out your dog's in trouble voice.
Yeah. What did you do?
Yes.
Yeah. What just happened?
And then you see her cower away, like,
the dog just knows. And especially if the dog knows the dog did it.
I don't know how dogs, know they did it, but there's so much that we have to learn from tone. And especially if you're listening to someone, maybe you're listening to someone on purpose, or maybe you're overhearing part of it, and you could hear so much of what's happening with just the tone. It's almost like you could, like, if, let's say, listening to somebody who's speaking a foreign language.
Yeah.
You're like, I think that girl's sad, and I think she's upset about this, or I think they're both excited about going somewhere. It's amazing how much meaning we do get from just hearing the tones in a conversation.
And as our kids are much older now, but when they were younger, I learned a lot about tone because number one, in the way that I responded to my kids, or the way that I talked to them, they would look dejected, or you could feel the life just drain out of them, or it fills them with life. And there were so many times where they would be like, why are you yelling at me? And I'm like, I'm not yelling. And yet I just wasn't aware of my tone. I was excited about something or animated, and the tone said a lot more than my words, because my words weren't saying anything negative in that moment, but that's what they were hearing because of
the misread. But I feel like the tones, again, is this idea of the dog or the child. Are you excited about something? Right? What's your energy level?
Yeah.
How your language comes out, or your rate of speech, like, okay, there's excitement level or a tired level. I feel like there's a positive and negative. This is a good news, right? You drew on the wall, or negative. Why did you draw on the wall? And then there's, I think, a tone that transmits how much you care. And I think that's when we kind of fall into, hey, we're going to go do this. Okay.
Right.
Instead of, okay, it's like, do you care? Your tone is saying that you don't care right now. Like, well, no, I do. So we're always, this morning or whenever, our tones, they should be enhancing our communication and helping us to communicate properly what we're feeling or thinking. And I feel like most of the time it like rubs up against each other, and we don't get the smooth communication because our tones are misread or miscommunicated, or I don't know.
Right. Many times they're communicating something we're not even intending to communicate. And I know you like to let me know if my tone is off, but for some reason that's not always helpful either, because I'm like, I don't know. I'm not trying to make my tone off.
Let me go back to what I just said.
This is how I talk.
So again, I can listen to you talking to someone else and I go, okay, wow, Joe's like really super excited about this, right? So I can know that. But then again, I say something to you and it's like, okay, well, we can do that. And I'm like, okay, you don't care about this at all. And you're like, I do. I'm like, but you just were like, had nothing in your voice. And then we have that, honey, actually I am. It's just, that's how I said it. I'm like, but you didn't communicate that with your tone. So that's where it's like, you weren't meaning to be disengaged. You weren't meaning to be not interested. So I would come back and say to you, are you interested? Do you care about what I just said? And you'll have to say or clarify.
Right.
I am interested.
So many times I don't want to over dramatize it or
Are
act
you
like
saying that I'm over dramatized?
No, but like act fake about it, right? Like, oh, I'm so excited.
See, that's what I'm looking for.
And I can be excited. I've learned that about Tara over the years. Emoji makes a huge difference.
Just give me some extra tone and a little
so
bit of.
If I can simply add an explanation point, we're going to the zoo.
Yes.
It makes a big difference.
How hard is that to do?
But what if I'm not excited that we're going to the zoo?
No.
But what if I'm okay with it? I'm just not excited.
Okay, so how about a tone that says, again, not going to say the words out loud, but that's not a good idea. You know, like, hey, we're going to do this. Well, you know, and I'm like, oh, you don't like my idea. And you'd be like, I didn't say that. See, this is where we get tricky.
So this is
I didn't say that. I'm like, your tone said, you think my idea stinks.
This is a side view or a slice into Joe and Tara's life, because it's so funny how you will accuse me of saying something because my tone sounded one way or another, and I literally didn't say those words, but that's very possibly what I was thinking. But for some reason, it gets conveyed. I think it's more frustrating for me when you think I've said something that I wasn't even on my radar. Like, that's not what I was thinking. But when you hit it, it's frustrating because it's like, oh, man, she read my mind.
So our tones can give us away.
Yeah.
We say something nice, but we don't
unintentionally
mean something
sometimes.
nice. So how about for me, what tones do I send you that
fine.
don't match mine?
Everything's fine.
I do not say that.
Just kidding. No, but there are
You
times
wish I
when
would say that.
No, there are times when I know that you're upset about something or you're not happy about something, and I'll ask you how you're doing, and you'll tell me you're fine, like everything's good, and you really probably mean that, like you're processing it on your own. You don't want to pull me into it. Although I think sometimes you're like, why can't you read my mind, right? It kind of feels that way. So that's the kind of tone that I think I get. And sometimes, back to the whole, that's a dumb idea. We've come a long way with saying that's a great idea. Now tell me more. But I think sometimes that great idea line comes out with a little bit of, that's a horrible idea, right?
Okay, let's go back to what we were talking about earlier with preschool teacher.
Uh-oh.
Again, me being a preschool teacher and me sort of being a teacher as a person and my lifestyle and all that. So sometimes you don't like my teacher tone.
No,
not preschool teacher. I don't preschool teacher you, but...
No. But sometimes yes,
okay, so
I
just
agree.
there's a tone that you're like...
There are times when I really just don't want to be in your classroom. I just want you to talk to me. And I have to understand that part of your love language is helping people discover, helping them lead them
explain things
to discovery and explain things. And sometimes I don't necessarily need it to be explained, or I'm too embarrassed to say I need it explained. Maybe, I don't know. But sometimes, yes, that teacher tone. But you've been gracious with me to be able to let me say, hey, I don't need to be taught right now, or whatever.
That's what you've said many times.
Say, but yes.
Like, so if I talk down to you as if you don't know this.
See, I wanted to be nicer about it, but that's how it feels. It feels like I'm being talked down to.
Like I'm a preschool teacher and you're a preschooler. So you're not a preschooler, but again, that preschool teacher is in me.
But maybe sometimes I act like a preschooler, so you have to talk to me in a way.
So we both have times, equal times that I go,
so
I don't like the tone you're taking. I don't like the tone that you're taking.
What
and
is
I don't like the tone that you're taking. And I don't like the tone that you're taking, and around and around.
What's the most frustrating tone I have? What?
Dismissive tone.
Do you really think I'm being dismissive, or it just comes off that way?
50-50.
Okay, so it's like, I don't want to deal with this right now, but...
Or I think half the times you don't want to, half the times I misread it.
Yeah.
So dismissive.
But by the time you misread it and the conversation escalates, then I do want to dismiss it.
Your other tone would be frustrated. So like, let's say there's no gas in the tank and you have to go out. You know, it's like, the statement is, there is no gas in the tank. I have to go to the gas station. The tone is, there's no gas in the tank. I got to go to the gas station. Like,
what in the world is wrong with this world, right?
Like frustration, right? It's not like, hey, there's no gas in the tank. I'm going to go to the gas station. It's like, so then it's a frustrated tone. And then I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't tell you in time. I should have told you earlier. And I know so the basic anger, frustrated tone when things go wrong. and I feel bad because I know you're frustrated. So that would be probably my biggest tone complaint.
Now, to clarify, it's not often that I get upset that there's no fuel in the car, right?
But just whatever it goes wrong.
Yes.
Right. Whatever unforeseen thing goes wrong and you're frustrated, like a human gets frustrated. And then that tone, I'm like, but it's going to be okay, right? Will we get through this tragedy? You're like, yeah, I'm just frustrated. I don't want to get gas right now. And so, yeah, those are the tones I think I struggle with. If you're dismissive, if I feel like you're really frustrated, I don't like a frustrated tone. Back in the day, in your hardest days, you had the hopeless tone. Like, not hopeless, just like a giving up, like the world's against me. It's like, oh, I got to get gas in the gas tank. And now, like, the world's ending. It felt like that's what I was hearing from your tone, a discouragement and a negative tone that I knew you were sad. You're not as sad as much anymore.
Well, that's good to know.
You used to be sadder.
Or at least I've been able to change my tone. So.
Any other tones I struggle
with?
No,
I think that's great. I think
this is it, your chance to tell me what tones do I have that frustrate you?
Yeah, but see, this is being recorded, so I gotta be careful. I'm kidding. I think what's funny is the tones can also catch us off guard. You don't realize, like this morning, we're in the midst of a very pleasant conversation, and I don't even know what got said and how it got said, but there was something misinterpreted from the tone from each of us, and all of a sudden we are going down this long rabbit trail, and it takes a little while to get back. So
I was probably dismissive, and you were
so it was reversed.
You were hopeless / angry at me, be dismissive.
Like, okay, so it's not a good idea.
Forget it.
I think we've learned through the years, I think a lot, but I think we've learned through the years that we can correct. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen, and it doesn't mean it doesn't derail us, but we've been able to hopefully correct that a little quicker, to go, wait a minute, I think I may be misinterpreting your tone. Or if you are being dismissive, like, you'll ask me directly, why are you being dismissive? Why are you frustrated?
Well, and I think with the tone, again, one way to say it is, I don't like your tone. This, like, I don't like it. Now, to say, tone policing, this idea of going, I'm going to tell you how to say it, or I don't like the way you're saying it. It's hard, but yet we're also saying not so much like you need to change your tone, but going, here is how what you're saying is landing on me. So I feel like you're being dismissive, and you're like, no, honey, I'm completely distracted. I wasn't listening.
Yes.
That's why I sounded like that. Oh, okay. You weren't being dismissive. You were being distracted. So I think it does help our communication when we do sense a wrong tone to not necessarily like correct each other on it and say, don't do that, as much as saying, hey, this is what I'm hearing from you. Is this what you're trying to say? Like, you look really frustrated about having to go get gas right now, and at that point you'd say, I am.
Right.
But at least like clarify instead of making that jump to the next conclusion. Since he's talking this way, it must mean this. And then since I made that jump, I'm going to change my tone with how I talk to you. So then we both shift tones somewhere along the way.
Well, there's a defensiveness that kicks in, and a self-preservation protection, right? I think sometimes I don't want you to know that I wasn't listening. So I can try to cover that up. And I've learned some valuable things over the years, but one of them is just humility is the way out, right? Yeah. Just to immediately say, you know what, honey, I'm sorry, I wasn't listening to you. I wasn't meaning to be defensive. I mean, dismissive. Because you'll say something, and sometimes you'll add something shocking in if you know I'm not listening, and I'll just be like, sure, whatever.
Yeah. But with tones, I think my problem too is, and maybe with you, I guess we'll say this is the same for both of us. I do have a tone that comes out that I don't mean to sound that way.
Yeah,
and I get frustrated with myself. I'm like, I listen back to myself talk. I'm like, I don't like the way I sound. So giving ourselves both grace there to go, okay, is it possible that Joe thought I was saying this about him because of the way I talked? Like, maybe I do sound that bad. And so I think it's hard to sound like a preschool teacher all day, meaning like always super sweet and just overflowing with like,
I don't think I would like that either, though.
Sweetness. Like, I don't have that much sweetness in me. I'm still got like a rougher edge that I'm like, I don't like the way I sound.
A little snarkiness there, right?
I know. I don't like it. So
But I wonder
it's something
too
that we have to work on, because
yeah.
I may not be sending a negative message, but I know I may sound negative.
Sometimes it's really not your fault at all. We're predisposed, sometimes because of life circumstances or things that are going on in our life. We're overtired, like you said. I'm already sensitive without even realizing it. So when I think your tone went this direction, it may not have gone that direction. But then I apply that and I respond accordingly, then my tone's off. Then your tone really is off. And then before you know it,
Cat fight.
I do appreciate about you, Tara, though, a lot of times, not always, but I would say a lot of times when my tone is off, you will ask me if you'll be like, are you okay? Because we've gone from like just rolling with it to giving benefit of the doubt to say, you know what, this is not how you normally respond. Are you doing okay? And I really appreciate that. It doesn't always happen. Like this morning, it just kind of, we were both, I think, tired and in the conversation, and it just kind of went down a rabbit trail of conflict, if you will. But I think those are fewer. They still happen because we're human and it's life, but they're fewer now because you will say, are you okay? Or
again, we can just like gently address it without having to start a fight. Meaning, like, if I attack you with it and saying, your tone stinks right now, well, that's not going to help by adding to it. But like going, hey, I feel like that was a bit tone that hurt my feelings, you know, and address it from that place. Then just let's, go at each other. But then I think about tone too. The other issue we have right now in our modern world is texting.
Yes.
And so and even email. And there's so many things that email and texting fall short of because we're saying we don't have the tones to help bring out the flavor of the message, right? Is my boss upset with me? When he says, that sounds great, period. Is he being sarcastic? Or go ahead and do that. What does that mean? And so we're busy trying to like add that meaning to words when we don't have that the teacher tone or the angry tone to help fill it out.
It's funny how
it's really difficult.
Trying to understand the texting tone in an important text can really become obsessive and consumption can consume so much of your time.
That's why we put smiley face emojis to say my tone is happy.
I don't know which podcast episode it was, but we talked about this because I need some emoji, I think was the name of the episode, because it took me a long time to get that, to understand, because I just have short one answer like, hey, sounds great, period, or okay. And you're like, I'm not getting enough. I don't want to read into this. If you are excited, let me know. So I just simply threw in an exclamation point or a smiley face.
With a work email. So
you can't do that with your boss though.
Right.
You put
no,
a bunch
with a work
of
email
emoji.
or people you have coworkers with, it's a little not different. The advantage you have is that person's personality.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is how they talk. I know what they mean by okay. There you have that built-in trust that you can kind of guess the way people talk. I think the hard part is if you have email with someone like that you don't know and you have no idea what they even look like. Yeah. And you're like, is this person mad? Is this person frustrated? And you just miss out on so much.
You're talking about, what they look like. You don't know what they look like
when they send you. Like a stranger sends you an email.
Oh yeah. But that's less, I think for me, that's not as intensive because I don't know
Not relational, no, but trying to understand what they're saying.
If I have someone send me an email and I can't see their facial expressions or I don't know their tone, I don't know if they're happy or they're not, that's where you can begin to go down rabbit trails and try to figure out what in the world does this mean?
Right, that sounds great. You're like, I don't know. Now, on the other hand, there are times I think that if our tones are getting all misconstrued, occasionally the written word by itself is also helpful because then the tones aren't getting in the way.
Yeah.
So on one hand, we like our words to be backed up by some tone to say, oh, wow, she sounds so friendly and happy to see me. Or I think she's still angry. But sometimes we will text back and forth if we're disagreeing about something. And we actually have an easier time talking because we're looking only at the words. Like looking at the words. This is how I feel. This is why I was upset. And so there's times that for us, texting or write a note to each other actually helps us to communicate because we have to say, let's not read into tones. Let's really just hear what is it that he is trying to say. And if we both use our words well, that's helpful. If you just say, okay, that's not going to help. But like, hey, honey, I was frustrated this morning that you ... Then it's like, okay, that's the message. And I can say, honey, so I think there is time and place too to like get rid of all the tones and just say, what is it you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Rather than add all this.
Also giving the other person a bit of the doubt to say, I'm going to look past the tones right now.
What is he saying?
To the words that you're trying to say. We're going to say that you mean what you say and you say what you mean. And that makes a big difference. I was thinking as you were sharing about just how the tone can change, it reminded me of our pastor one time showed just a short video, but he did it, the same exact video twice. The first time he did it, he had horror music on it. And then he played it with fun gibberish, music. And it's so funny how just the tone of that music changed so much about that video.
The feeling you had.
And it was such a great life lesson to look at that and go, wait a minute. Yeah. Who colored on the wall? Who colored on the wall? It just changed. The tone changes so much.
And your receptivity. And so one thing I've been, working on in terms of trying to make my tones, better, is some of it is just not being sloppy. Like we fall into a habit of saying things a certain way. And, this is where we kind of let just God transform our hearts and transform what's inside and go, do I want my tone to communicate this to my husband or to anybody I'm with? Do I want people to think that's what I'm trying to say? Because sometimes you don't get a chance to fix a message you send with the wrong tone. So sometimes it is just like not getting sloppy. And I feel like we all can get sloppy sometimes. Like, again, not bothering to think, how is this message coming across? How is my tone sounding to people around me?
Yeah.
Just being intentional.
Yeah, I think laziness too. Sometimes I get lazy and because it does take effort to rise to the occasion to say, I want to make sure that my tone communicates correctly. And and then I think, Tara, sometimes when the other person is responding or reacting to your tone that you maybe didn't mean to, it can spiral down as well.
Just not taking the bait. And the other thing that is a big deal I thought, why do I talk the way I do? Or why do I have a tone the way I do? And sometimes it's a matter of who you're listening to and the voices in your life, even the people you listen to. That, if I hung out with preschool teachers all day, I'm going to come home going, okay, now after dinner, we're going to, So I think if you are filling your mind and your heart with tones and voices, or if you're in a situation where just that's what you live around, it's hard to reverse that influence and to say, okay, how can I put voices and people that talk the way I want to talk? Because don't you naturally just start absorbing the language of people around you? So I feel like to be intentional, like, okay, whose tones am I imitating the most in my life?
And I think that goes with movies, music, all that
right.
stuff. The content that we're putting into our hearts, that really is what comes out. It's like a sponge. A sponge can look really clean on the surface, but when you squeeze water through whatever's in the core of that sponge, that's what's coming out.
Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So I feel like there are times that I will tell you, I didn't mean that. I wasn't upset with you. I was just saying this. And I think to myself, that's what I was saying. But I'm going, okay, what really was in my heart? Am I harboring bitterness in my heart? Because if I'm harboring bitterness in my heart, or I'm mad at you about something, or I have whatever, I may be disciplined enough to like keep my words correct and say the right thing. But the tone comes through because it's in my heart. And that's when you're like, honey, you're saying the right words, but I don't think that's what you mean. It's like, oh, I got to do some heart work here.
And sometimes it's what we lead with too, because it's what's on our heart.
Yeah.
So if we led with hey, how you doing? You doing all right? Then we say what we want to say. It comes off differently than if we lead with, whatever it is.
But chances are, though, if you are continually communicating a tone that makes other people feel uncomfortable and hurt or something like that, right? That this is a common issue. It's like, okay, if I'm consistently talking like this to people that I love or people that I don't even know, right? That a bitter tone, a harsh tone, a dismissive tone, a angry tone, a frustrated tone, going, okay, I might have some work to do, right? Like these are things we surrender. We talk about surrender a lot. These are things I surrender to God. God, why am I consistently snapping, right? Why don't I have more preschool teacher in my life? That I'm coming across angry. There's something in the roots of that. There's something underneath that's, if it's a consistent nonstop problem. You're like, my tone's always off. Well, something in your heart
Might
might
be off.
always be
Yeah.
off if it's a consistency. So sometimes it's a little bit of habit issue, and sometimes it's a heart issue where you go, okay, this is what's coming out. It might not come out your words, but it definitely comes out in your tone, and people definitely notice it as well.
Yeah, they recognize it. I think those are areas where I can have a blind side, right? I don't always see if I am frustrated with something, then unfortunately every interaction, no matter how nice I'm trying to be, is going to have an edge.
A little edge to it, yeah. Well, that's where I think we offer grace, because as much as we want to do a nice tone, I think it also is impossible to say, I will always have the perfectly nice and sweet and happy. In fact, there are some people who consistently always have a very nice, even tone. And for some reason, I don't trust them. It's like, there's no one that can have the perfectly sweet, happy tone all the time. But to offer each other grace for that reason, to say, hey, we're all going to mess up. We're going to have days that it does come out wrong and we're dealing with something. And to be able to gently correct each other and gently say, hey, I've noticed your tone is off, right? This is how it's landing on me. This is how it affects me. Are you okay? Then it could be a place of growth rather than we both struggle with this in the same way. It's not like I'm always perfectly toned.
Asking someone you care about if they're okay is very different than accusing them.
Are you okay?
Right?
Again,
having
the
a tone
minute you
issue.
open your mouth, you risk saying it the wrong way. That's the hard part about talking.
It is. And yes, it's very, but that's again, back to what you just said. That's why we give each other grace, and love is worth it.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like this is the last example I'll give you is there's times that we have to address something in our marriage, and I want to be nice about it. So I come in leading with such kindness, but little by little my tone changes because I'm like, oh, I'm actually upset about this. And so if that happens, all right, you're like, hey, sweetheart, can we talk about something? And pretty soon, well, it's just that. Then you go okay, there's grace for that to say there's something going on, and not just in our hearts, but as a husband or wife to go, if those tones are coming out, not offer grace like saying it's okay, but to say be willing to offer that love as you work through things.
In that space a little bit, because there are times when you and I will have a conversation that needs to happen, and there's emotion. I mean, there's a lot of emotion tied up in that conversation. And many times you want to be able to control your emotion. We think as adults we should be able to do that. Yeah. But sometimes if it's something hurtful or something that's really dear to us, it's tough to control that emotion completely. So when you get grace from the other side as you're sharing, that keeps everything from really bouncing out of control. It's really a gift.
So has my tone been okay so far today?
Well,
Do you like my tone right now? I mean, do you like my tone?
Would love to hear from you.
We'd love to hear from you.
You can email us and just let Tara know that her tone is off. Tara, T-A-R-A.
Are you saying my tone is off?
T-A-R-A at behindoursmiles.com.
My tone is fine.
We would love to hear from you. Tara, T-A-R-A at behindoursmiles.com. And if you don't like our tones, we're fine with hearing that too. You can let us know. Hey, I've listened to a dozen of your podcasts. I don't like your tone. That's fine too.
Here we go.
Have a great week.